What's up, guys? It's Jay with Bearded Dad Fishing, and Old Town just released two brand new fishing kayaks today, the PDL and ePDL Plus 120 Pro. This is a complete overhaul of its best-selling Sportsman PDL 120, taking it to the next level. Is this the new Hobie killer? Well, I'll let you be the judge of that because I got it right here behind me. But first, dad joke of the day, what's leather and sounds like a sneeze? A shoe. So right here, we got the Old Town Sportsman ePDL Plus 120 Pro. Old Town completely redid the hull of this kayak, and I should know because I have the original PDL 120 right over there, and I love that kayak. They added a ton of new features to this hull, and they carry those features across the ePDL Plus version and the PDL. The hulls are completely identical across the two kayaks. So everything we go through on this kayak, the ePDL Plus, it's also on the PDL 120 Pro. So I'm gonna start unboxing this while we look at some of the specs. The hull of this kayak is 12 foot long and 36 inches wide, the same size as the standard PDL 120. However, the assembled hull weight is gonna be different. The PDL 120 Pro is 126 pounds, while the ePDL Plus 120 Pro is 140 pounds, thanks to the added weight of the ePDL Drive. The weight capacity is 500 pounds, however, the usable weight capacity is going to be different. The PDL 120 Pro has a usable weight capacity of 374 pounds, while the ePDL Plus 120 Pro has a usable weight capacity of 360 pounds. The drive and the seat are now installed, so let's talk about the drives before we jump into the completely revamped hull, because the big difference between the PDL 120 Pro and the ePDL Plus 120 Pro is in these drives. This is the ePDL Drive, originally only available on the Big Water 132. It was introduced back in 2023, I believe. Now they're bringing it to the PDL 120 Pro. Super excited. This drive is bigger, is heavier in that 35 to 40 pound range. I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's a 36 volt motor, so it has some oomph to it. And the real cool thing is that it comes with the battery and the charger. It's an Amped Outdoors 20 amp hour 36 volt battery, nice and small in size, and it fits perfectly in the compartment, which I'll show you in a bit, right under the seat. And again, comes with the charger. Big expenses. People look at that price tag, but they don't realize it comes with everything you need to get going. The great thing about the ePDL Drive is you can decide, do you want to go fully manual pedaling? Do you want to go with the power assist pedaling where it helps you out? Or do you want to go fully motorized? Because you could go fully motorized with this as well, with what they call cruise mode. And you might be wondering, how much battery life can you get with a 20 amp hour 36 volt battery? So if you're running this on 1, it has 1 through 5. So if you're running on 1, which is the slowest, you can get 46 hours. If you're running it on 5, which is full throttle, you can get 3 hours, which is usually the case anytime you're running a motor full throttle. It doesn't last very long. However, if you're running it on 3, which is right there in the middle of the road, you can get about 23 hours, which is pretty respectable out of a smaller battery. So you can use this all day on motorized mode, or if your battery dies, you still got these two puppies and you can pedal your way back to the launch. If you decide to not go with the ePDL Drive, then you got yourself the standard PDL Drive. Now this is what they call the Legacy Drive. It's the one that's available on the same PDL versions of the past. They didn't change the drive itself because if it ain't broken, don't fix it. It works great and I love it. I've had it for 4 years and it's fantastic. If you go with the ePDL Plus, it is backwards compatible, so you can drop in one of the standard PDL drives right in here. If you're fishing a tournament that doesn't allow motors and you have one of these drives laying around, or you buy one off of somebody, you could plop it right in there and just keep going with that. However, it's not compatible the other way around. If you get the standard one, you can't just buy an ePDL drive and plop it in there, at least for the time being. Now let's jump into the body of the kayak, go over all the features that Old Town got into this revamped kayak. Trust me, there's a lot of them. There's also some features that Old Town kept the same from the standard PDL. So I'm gonna jump you over to the GoPro to get you up close and personal on some of these new features. Probably the biggest difference on this kayak is that Old Town thinned out the gunnels. They made the gunnels a lot thinner on the body of this kayak. What does that mean? That means the cockpit is much bigger while the outside of the kayak remains the same width. Your standard PDL was 36 inches wide. This one is 36 inches wide on the outside. However, on the inside is where all the difference on this cockpit. At the drive, right here, the PDL had 22 inches. The PDL 120 Pro has 28. So you're talking about 6-inch difference from here to here, which means you can fit a catchboard there, means you can have more space for more gear, stretch out, etc. And at your feet, you have 26 inches compared to 22 and a half on your standard Sportsman PDL 120. This makes a huge difference. The way the kayak feels, the way you feel comfortable in there. So that's gonna be probably, in my mind, the biggest change, because it changes the whole dynamic of how you feel in the kayak. The next big difference on this kayak are the aluminum gear tracks. This kayak has 4 36-inch gear tracks, okay? From the front of the drive, all the way to the seat. On the other side, and on the rear of the kayak, you have another one that's about 36 inches as well. So you're talking about front to back of this kayak is almost continually a track, and they're aluminum. A lot of guys on the standard PDL would replace these tracks with aluminum tracks or their own modded tracks. These are heavy duty aluminum. The front ones actually double as a handle. So you got a handle here and you have a handle here. And you have so much room here for accessories. One cool feature as well is that there's a notch right in the middle. So if you have something here, you have something here, you don't have to take everything out to remove an accessory. You can just pop it out right here. So nice little touch, but regardless, this is so much more rail space. They also added a little bit of rail space right on the front. The front handle is now a small accessory track, and the bottom of these are rounded too. So you're not grabbing something that's square and uncomfortable. You're grabbing something that's well rounded and comfortable. And you can put a GoPro up here. You can put a light up here, whatever you want, man. You have tracks for days on this kayak. Another big feature is the fact that this kayak is bow mount ready. It comes with the 4-hole pattern right here. Same pattern that's the shallow water anchor on the rear of the Sportsman PDL 120. Now you have this here, so you're ready to add a bow mounted motor real easy without having to buy some third-party adapter or anything. It's ready to go, it's reinforced, nice and strong. And in the stern of the kayak, you have 2 additional mounts too. So if you want to throw a shallow water anchor, if you want to throw 2 of them, you can do it. If you don't have the motorized ePDL drive, you could throw a motor back here, a Newport NK180 Pro, the 300. I mean, you're ready to go without an insane amount of rigging. You could just worry about getting the motor and not getting the motor, the accessory plate, and all this other stuff. So it's ready to go, ready to rig real quick. And if you were paying attention, you might have seen that this kayak also comes with pre-installed through-hull kits. So these ports right here from Old Town are also updated. These are not the ports that come with the autopilot. This is updated ones, so they're thicker, so it can accommodate the thicker gauge wires for the motors, for the forward-facing sonar transducer cables, which are much thicker. But the best part is it doesn't just come with 1 or 2 or 3. It actually comes with 4 pre-installed through-hull ports already. So if you're gonna rig your kayak, you don't have to drill any holes to do it. It's ready to go, which is amazing. That goes right along with the easy riggability of those mounts. They also have the ports as well for the wiring. One of my favorite features on the Sportsman PDL 120 of the past is how big that hatch is. I've shown you guys before, you can fit a ton of rods, a ton of batteries, a ton of stuff in there. And Old Town just made it better with the 120 Pro. They changed the shape of the hatch, making it a lot more practical. So you have the same bungee system to open it. Now you have these 2 grab handles right there so that it comes up. And because it's shaped differently now, it's a lot more accessible in there. You can still fit rods all the way down the body of the kayak, all the way here. You could put wiring in there. You could set up your yak power system, your batteries, whatever it is. And it is super deep. I mean, there's a ton of space in here, and it makes rigging a lot easier when you have to run wires down your kayak. Now you could fit your hand in there and not have to have like the weird oval shape, which was great because it was big, but oval just wasn't it. So this is a lot more practical, and a cool little feature that they added was on the lid. They added a spot to put a spare prop right there. It has a little bungee. You can just plop your spare prop in there, and then if you ever need it, you break a prop out from the water, you just take it right out and you're ready to go. That's just a small feature, but I thought it was really cool. And you might be wondering what this situation is right here. Bro, they have integrated horizontal rod storage now on this kayak. You could fit 2 rods here and 2 rods here for a total of 4 horizontally stored rods. Because the gunnels are thinner, the cockpit is wider, you can accommodate rods much more comfortably now that just run all the way down. And these tubes go down 36 inches. So you have plenty of space. They go down there. They're protected, as you can see. So they're not just hanging inside the hull of your kayak. They're protected in these tubes as well. So talk about totally changing the way you store your rods. You have 4 that you can store there at all times. Plus you throw in the flush mounted rod holders. You got 1, you got 2, and you have your forward facing rod holder right here. So you already have 7 rods that you can store. That's not even talking about your crate. If you're a madman and you want to take 10, 12 rods out, you fit 6 or 8 on your crate, you put 4 in the horizontal rod holders, you put 2 here. I mean, you're ready to go. You're ready to rock and roll with a ton of rod storage on this kayak. Old Town also made some changes with the seat, but before we talk about that, make sure you join us on our Facebook group, Kayak Fishing Dads. We got more than 36,000 members from all over the world, sharing videos, sharing pictures, asking questions, a ton of great advice. If you're just starting out, great place to ask questions. If you've been doing it for a while, great place to start helping other people learn the sport and the hobby of kayak fishing. So join us on Kayak Fishing Dads on Facebook. So if you're familiar with the seat that's on the Sportsman lineup of kayaks, then you know it's a fantastic seat. And the good news is that the seat itself hasn't changed. They kept the same breathable, comfortable, sturdy seat across the lineup. They did change a couple things like the color, but as far as how the adjustments work, the padding and everything else is the same. But they did change how it's mounted to the kayak, because now it's mounted via this plastic shuttle. So all you have to do is loosen up these knobs. There's 2 here and 2 on the other side. And then it slides back and forth on the track system. So it's a lot easier to move it, and it's more convenient versus the old system on the PDLs where you had to pull up the little buttons and then slide forward. No, it's totally different and it's much better. It is still using the strap and the buckle on the back, but once you take that off, the big difference you're gonna notice is how much space is actually under this seat that's now usable space. You could put an entire battery, if you wanted to upgrade the battery for your ePDL or for your trolling motor, you could fit a huge battery in here. You have all this space now, or you could put additional tackle, additional storage, another change of clothes, whatever it is. So it really does offer more flexibility in terms of space. And moving back from the seat, of course, you'll see the Tankwell. And now again, since these gunnels are thinner, you have even more space in here. It's a wider space. You could fit a ton of stuff in here. These 2 lash down points are for a battery box. So if you want to have your tackle crate here and then a battery here for your trolling motor, you can use these lash down points to tie down your battery, and you don't have to worry about losing it in rough waters or if you flip or anything like that. Another big difference is you're going to see this access panel right here. So if you're wiring up your kayak with these mounts, adding a trolling motor or shallow water anchor, whatever it is, you don't have to add this anymore. So many guys used to add this to that kayak right there because they needed to access back here for rigging. Now it comes already in there. You don't have to mess around or rig, and I feel like that's the theme here. It's just ready to go, making rigging even easier. So you've got the access panel back here and the lash straps, which are the big difference here on the Tankwell of this kayak. And another change as far as versatility and rigging goes is gonna be this here plate. So this is technically an access point for your rudder cables because they run right alongside this gunnel. But the good news is that you can actually mount to this if you wanted to add a track, if you wanted to add some sort of accessory right there. Maybe you want to put your throttle there if you're not using the ePDL. And the last change I'm going to talk about today on the PDL and ePDL Plus 120 Pro, you've seen it, but I didn't mention it, is this completely new colorway. This one is called Storm, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's more of a royal blue versus the blue on the Photic Camo, which is more of a teal. This is a royal blue, and then it blends into white and black. So you see a little bit of white right here. Obviously you got the black. It just looks completely fresh, and that royal blue is super clean. The other one is called Sierra, and again, very beautiful color. It's a brown and black mixture, kind of reminds you of like a desert tan. type of look. And these two colorways are exclusive to the 120 Pro lineup. So you won't find these on the standard Sportsman lineup, only on these, the ePDL Plus and the PDL 120 Pro. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful colorways. And before we get to what Old Town kept the same, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I got about 10 videos on this kayak coming up this spring and into the summer. So make sure you guys follow along if you want to see more on the ePDL Plus and PDL 120 Pro. First thing that Old Town didn't change on this kayak is the transducer mount. It's got the same transducer mount from the Sportsman lineup for the last couple years. It works great. People already have their favorite adapters for this, so fret not. You can use the same adapter on here for your Lawrence, for your Humminbird, your Garmin, whatever it is. This transducer mount comes in super handy, and they didn't need to change it because it works great. And then as far as all the rudder controls go, your steering knob, your actual rudder, and your rudder deployment, which is right on this side right here, that all stayed the same. It's the same lever for the rudder deployment. It's the same rudder as well. It's nice and long. It's the plastic one. And you have your steering knob. That hasn't changed. And as far as the EVA deck padding, it's the same. It's just a small portion of the deck that's covered to dampen some of the sound. You have your bungee system in the back. It's the same as before. Incredibly useful. I love this bungee system. You have your flush mounted rod holders. You got two rear facing in the back, one forward facing here in the front. That's the same system they had before. I love that forward facing rod holder. So I don't know, you can delete it. There's some stuff that you can replace it with, but I love it. I don't know why, honestly, people even delete it. And then you got the paddle clip, self-explanatory, same one as before. You put the paddle in there and then you close it, and that's it. And of course, I already mentioned it, but the seat didn't change. This comfortable seat, I've sat in this thing for 10 and 12 hour fishing days, and it's incredibly comfortable, adjustable, breathable, all the stuff you want it to be. So why change it if it's already great? I'm glad they did change the way it moves front and back, and the storage on the bottom. Those are welcome changes as far as the seat's concerned. And the last thing that they kept the same, again, already mentioned it, but let me harp on it a little bit, is the actual PDL drive. If you opt to not get the ePDL Plus, then you just get the PDL. This is the same legacy drive as before. An amazing 5-year warranty, virtually maintenance-free drive, easy to use, incredibly durable, and it floats. Yes, it's actual drive. You can toss it out and it will float, which is an amazing thing. It has the dry hatch, has the little bungee in it, has all the things you love about it. So if you're familiar with it, it's the same one. If you're not familiar, then get familiar with it, because it's one of the best, if not best, drives on the kayak fishing market right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this first look at the Old Town Sportsman ePDL Plus and PDL 120 Pro. If you thought this was a good video, YouTube thinks you might like this one right here. So till next time, guys, peace and God bless.